Hi everyone, my name is Natalia. Welcome to ChoZan webinar entitled How Can Global Tourism Adjust to China's COVID-disrupted travel plans? And today, as an expert from our team, I have with me my colleague Wendy Chen and also Sylvie Xie. And let me quickly introduce them to you. So Wendy has over 2 years of experience on social media marketing projects. She helps brands to understand how to leverage on Weibo and also niche platforms like Bilibili, Kuaishou, and Muff&Bo. She closely tracks social media trends, and as an expert on creative media campaigns, Wendy has lots of insights about kiosks and what's actually happening in the digital space of China. And during today's discussion, Wendy basically will share with us most recent trends and updates about travel and tourism in China. We also have here today my colleague Sylvie, and Sylvie is experienced Chinese social media marketing expert. She helps brands to stay on top of the most recent trends and sentiments among modern Chinese consumers and also Chinese outbound travelers. In our team, Sylvie is not only running social media projects, but she is also experienced and knowledgeable trainer with a focus on different promotional tactics and strategies on social media platforms. And many of you already know Sylvie via our China Marketing Circle. It's a private community for China watchers where we share most recent trends and what's actually happening now in the digital space of China. And today, Sylvie will share with us more about pre-sale strategies and ways how basically companies can adjust in this time. And I think that it's time to start.
Thank you. So in 2020, there should have been a very crowded Spring Festival vacation, just like every year. And according to the expert prediction, there will be more than 450 million tourists in the Spring Festival, Chinese New Year tourists around China. And this kind of people will create more than 555 billion RMB consumption. Yes, but due to the sudden attack of the epidemic, the above-mentioned prediction lost its value instantly. We can see that during the Spring Festival vacation from January 24th to January 30th, 2020, the number of people traveling was only 152 million. And compared with 2019, this number should be 420 million. So which has decreased more than half. And also similarly during this year's Qingming holiday, just passed before, we can see that the overall number of tourists has dropped seriously. The domestic tourists has dropped by 60% to 43 million people, and the tourism income in this industry has dropped by 80% to 8.2 billion RMB. So we can see that this general picture is that the tourism in China has been disrupted really serious. Yes, and so not only in China, we can see now global tourism is also seriously disrupted. In 2019, the number of international tourists reached 1.5 billion. And according to the prediction of the United States World Tourism Organization, the decline in international tourists will be 20 to 30% in 2020, which means that international tourism revenue will decrease by 300 to 400 billion US dollars. Yes, which is almost a third of the total revenue of 1.5 trillion US dollars in the 2019. So now maybe we have a clear understanding of the current situation. So we can have a look at several parts. Firstly, Australia has imposed a ban on tourists from many places, including the mainland China, including the Korea, and by May 2020, the Australia government announced that the tourism loss, they predicted that at least 1.4 billion US dollars in tourism loss. And as of now, the number of Chinese tourists has dropped by 90% to 100% compared with last year at the same time. So in addition to Chinese tourists, the coronavirus in Italy began to disrupt on February. In just a few weeks, number of flight tickets booked from all over the world to Europe have decreased 23%. So, and according to the expert predictions, the United States would lose at least 820 billion US dollars in this coronavirus. So, and also Thailand with its mainstay economy as their mainstay economy is the tourism. So they will lose at least 10 million tourists during the coronavirus, and the total number of tourists in Thailand in 2019 is 37 million people, which means Thailand will lose nearly a third of tourists this year. So in addition to the pictures, there are many countries that have also been seriously influenced, such as Korea and also the Japan, but we didn't show it in this picture. Okay. Yeah, so we all know that the tourism industry will be easily affected, but why is tourism industry will be very easily to be seriously affected? So firstly, from the reason, we can analyze it from three aspects. So firstly, from the demand side, the consumption frequency of the tourism industry is very low, and the unit price of customer is high. The user's perception of tourism demand is weak, and the decision-making process is very long. So take the choice of travel destination as an example. It has a lot of randomness, such like we can choose for a destination for a very long time, or we can just make a decision temporarily. So we can care about the recommendation of social media, but we can pass this decision just because an active comment from our friends. So in this case, another example is that the frequency of travel consumption is very low, and most of the services happen offline. When the users experience the service at the travel destination above the pass line, there will be no demand for upgrade for a very long time, because they will not get back to this place at a very short time, right? So what is more interesting is that over time, people will beautify this kind of memory by themselves. The uncomfortable part will fly out of their own minds, and the best pictures will stand out. So this leads to a very brand-oriented tourism industry. It is easy for users to choose big brands, or it is easy to have trust in some brands people have already been used to. And the second reason is that from the perspective of the supply side, the tourism industry has a long service chain, and various sections have different degrees of digitalization. But every section is seriously affected by each other. Like transportation products, including the airplanes, trains, and shuttles, have a high degree of standard and also a high degree of digitalization. But some characteristic products and service in the destinations, such as the fishing, the diving, and other services, are with low standardization and low digitalization. So that is the section with the worst degree of digitalization determines the flexibility of supply. So each step of travel has a great impact on others. So if you have one section is really low digitalization, you have to pay more effort to make it comfortable. So the third one is the strong personal preference. We all know that. Everyone users have different kind of travel preferences, and in this case, some travel industries can only target a small group of people instead of you want to hold the whole world into your target audience. This is not really possible. So in this case, we know why tourism is seriously affected in this epidemic. We have to know for recovery period, Every recovery process have this 4 period. The first stage is the start of recovery. Some sightseeing and restaurants have begun to recover slowly, but it is still the minority. If there is a large passenger flow, it may cause a new round of spread of coronavirus. So when brands are not sure, you need to be really cautious in this stage. And the second stage is the development stage. At this time, the tourism industry will enter a stage of comprehensive recovery. At this stage, there will be a very important signal is that the Ministry of Culture and Tourism, the official announcement will appear. And it will say that offline travel agency must be the last one to recover. And so when the travel agency can start business activities, the sign of this stage is that everything is going to be normal at a very short time. And the third stage is a last coronavirus patient cured. So the consumer's psychology fear was completely eliminated. At this time, we can fully drive the development of domestic tourism. So the last stage is the stage in which the tourism industry has returned to its normal operating state. And even a rebound stage may follow, but it will take us a really long time in this case. So we're in China, we are now at the junction of the first and second stage, but we must consider a new confliction. That is, the number of foreigner patients overseas is really increasing this time. So the process may be relatively slow, but in general, the recovery process is this 4 periods. Yes, so now we can turn to the trends for tourism recovery. There were mainly 3 trends. The first one is we have mentioned before many times, the safety is the first priority. As the expert has predicted that in July, there will be a large scale of recovery. And in China, the National Day and Golden Week, in there will be a really small peak of the tourism industry recovery. Actually, the tourism industry has already been recovering a little, like in this Qingming festival. Already, although we have said that the tourist has decreased a lot, but in Huangshan, in Anhui province, there were more than 20,000 people entered Huangshan. As a result, in the last 2 days of the Qingming holiday, Huangshan, the sightseeing has closed in advance because they do not need any tickets in this time. They want to attract more people, but this may be not a really good time for them to do this kind of things, but this is still a sign that the tourism in China is still recovering. And at the same time, many travel platforms and hotels have launched plans called No Worry Living. Meituan, one of the biggest travel platforms in China, they announced that the No Worry Living plan, which will be launched in cooperation with more than 20,000 hotels and more than 3,200 sightseeings for a period 3 months, covering more than 350 cities around China to promote a series of pre-sale products. So users can also check the hotel's anti-epidemic commitment and the latest disinfection status. And also, the qualified hotels will have a specific sign in their homepage. And the second trend is the customized trip and the self-guided trip. So the travel users will become increasingly young, according to the industry development report released by the China Tourism Research. The post-80s and the post-90s have become the majority of the tourist audience. So coupled with this epidemic, in fact, in the short term, the middle-aged and elderly people will not tend to travel. So it will accelerate the importance of this young group. However, their travel preferences are different from those of the post-70s or the post-60s. For example, the older generation likes Beijing, this city, very much, but actually this is not work for the young generation. So with the growth of new people, many personalized needs have also been born. after the epidemic, there is no doubt that the family health is more important to young people, so we can also take travel tourism industry as an example. Cheap tours and relatively low quality group tours began to be abundant. This is also related to the increasing travel experience of users. So according to China Tourism Research Institute, more than 55% of tourists in mainland China choose to follow the group tour in 2019. This number is big, but it has already had a big decrease because it should be compared to the data from 2017, which is 70%. So this is a really big decrease. So users who abandon group tours will gradually change to free tours and customized tours. So this kind of epidemic will also bring this chance. In addition, after this epidemic, what are people's psychology concerns about large group tours, like you do not know the health status in this group? It cannot be predicted. So small group customized tours and free tours are expected to get more popular in a new wave of these groups. This is also a survey that called after coronavirus, what kind of trip would you prefer? So you can see the group tour here just got 37% of the people. So it's still decreasing now. Yes, so now we have to know why the people do not want, why there are still 37 people want to the group tours in China, because this is also a big group of people, right? So really we can see that from the, there was a really popular thing in China called Daka. A huge rebound in social media is back. So Daka is you go to some niche place, you go to some restaurant which is very popular in China, and then you take a photo of what you have done, and you post on your social media to show off. This is definitely a big trend after the epidemic, because I have already found that there are many contents on the Douyin say that what kind of place do you want to go after the epidemic? And also in China, because many places are starting to be lifted. So many friends in China are going to post their own pictures in their WeChat moments. Although they go to the most normal restaurants, they will see that, oh, I can go outside today, I can go to eat hot pot. So in this case, this kind of trend is going to be back. This and which is one of the most famous Daka thing is the most successful travel city, Xi'an. Xi'an has many different kinds of Asian palace. One of the biggest palace in Xi'an has invited many actors and actresses to dress as the ancient Tang Dynasty people to dance and to do the performances in the playground. And many audience like this kind of performance very much. They got back to work recently, and they wear masks. But actually, the audience don't think the masks is good looking, of course. So they changed their masks to a silk clothes, I think, and just look at Tang Dynasty Chinese Asian people. And they also put the long distance from the audience. Yes, so we can see that this is one of the most famous Daka thing in China. What I want to say is that why people do not like group tour, or why people like self-guided tour, is because people, which represents people want to combine the space, the freedom with the service. So from this kind of thing, what we should do is to combine one sightseeing to a really like a traditional, just like a traditional routine, but with some really popular things, I think, in the internet. So we can analyze it from a different angle, transportation. In this way, we can see that this chart is round trip transportation during Spring Festival in 2020 in China. Firstly, the orange one is original plan, and the green is the actual travel plan. So besides the canceled plan, we can see the high-speed train, the airplane, the private car is their top three preference. But we can see the private car is the least affected method to choose. The high-speed train and airplane has decreased by at least 10%, but the private car transportation has only decreased by 1%. So which we can lead to the upcoming trends. The one-day trip, there might be a lot of people participate in this kind of one-day tour, but the number of people choose to do to live in the destination would be greatly reduced. And also the short distance trip, the domestic travel. For the domestic travel, if the epidemic abroad is serious and outbound travel is damaged, it may be a favorable factor for domestic tourism growth. So, and we have mentioned before the safety, the healthy, the family, and also the tier, it is the keywords. And the tier 1 to 2 cities, people in tier 1 to 2 cities will be more active than in the other cities. So there is a last question. Yes, is tourism in for a great rebound? Yes, my answer is yes, but I do not know when it will be and how big is the scale. So we can analyze from different kinds of aspects, from the positive and also the negative. Many places now are raising the policy support, such as Xi'an has a policy that they will give reward. They will give award to the restaurant and the hotels after the epidemic, according to their receiving tourist number. And also compared to the SARS period, we can see that in 2004, there was more than around a half of increase in 2004 compared with 2003 in tourism industry. So now in this case, people are more in more relaxed mood, and they are more aggressive in consumption. But actually, the loan pressure of Chinese now is relatively higher, so the demand for loan cannot be changed, but the tourism consumption is flexible. So it's very clear which one could be abundant. And also, the majority of people are working for private enterprises in China. So if private enterprises want to cut their salaries, there will be a problem for their the citizens' income. So the cost of families is high, and in this case, they need to reduce their consumptions. So who can survive? Who will win? The brands that can adapt quickly, make new products, services, and to improve their local services. And also the brands have their own supply chains and also have a strong partnership. So how they can survive? This is the question for the next section in the strategy. So now we can pass it to Sylvie. Thank you.
Thank you, Wendy. For this part, let's see some data first. So once the pandemic is under control and some measure of international travel returns, these factors listed in this slide influencing domestic travel are also likely to have some influence internationally. So we can see that the highlighted part use some dotted lines. There are three factors. There are the travel agency promotions, discounts on sightseeing location tickets, and the discounts on flight tickets and accommodation. These three are all belong to promotion category, which is accounting for 43%. So this gives the tourism industry a mindset. When considering some measures, these motivation factors in this slide would be a good perspective. So how can the tourism industry adjust to COVID-19 reality? Let's take a look at the measures taken by China's tourism industry and learn something from them. The first is the pre-sales measure, which can be carried out through two channels. On the one hand, it can be through its own channel, such as WeChat official account. The other one is through cooperation with online travel agency such as C-Trip. Looking back at the first channel, taking the New Century Hotel as an example, which is one of the leading hotel groups in China, ranking among the top 30 global hotel groups. New Century Hotel applied pre-sales strategy through their WeChat official account, and they believe that people are currently worried about the uncertainty of future travel. So the demand for the short-term business will not recover so soon, but the demand for the families is continue to grow. So we can see that in the new hotel century, the New Century Hotel apply pre-sales through their WeChat accounts, and the demand for the short-term business accommodation, as I just said, will not restore immediately, while the potential demand and enthusiasm for family travel are continuing to grow. Based on such consideration, they lock the target group in the family. And in terms of the sales model, New Century Hotel believes that, generally speaking, when traveling, elders pay attention to relaxation, while children like some entertainment items. So New Century Hotel takes travel content suitable for elders and children as a package to sell. And the remaining two models are group buying and sharing rewards, which are popular and also adopted by New Century Hotel this time. This effectively stimulates people's enthusiasm for participation, and through group buying, people can get more favorable price, which invisibly helps the hotel to promote products to more people. And under the sharing incentive model, people can generate exclusive product poster on the sharing page. And after the poster are shared, they can receive instant WeChat rewards. So according to the data provided by New Century Hotel, about 30% of the products sold on the official website come from people's sharing. So we can see this kind of model really works this time. And we can see the right side is another channel to cooperate with the online travel agency. Let's take the C-Trip as an example. Actually, C-Trip launched the themed events that Book Your Future Trip, which broadcasts a concept in people's mind to make them realize that even if they can travel now, they can plan their future travel plan first, which helps to keep people's enthusiasm for travel. We can see that C-Trip use flash sale and cashback to encourage people to book trips. In fact, online travel agency provide one-stop service, including the air tickets, hotels, shuttle service, and etc. Therefore, one of the benefits of cooperating with them is we can use their platform to carry out promotion activities at different service levels. And actually, this pre-sale model can not only ease the current cash flow pressure of the hotel, but also help the hotel to lock up some of the future business in advance. If you want to adopt the pre-sale strategy, you need to pay attention to 2 points when designing this kind of products. On the one hand, we need to realize that the reason why customers are willing to buy pre-sale product is because they can unsubscribe and refund at any time. If these 2 points cannot be met, the product should be clearly marked during design to avoid unnecessary disputes. And on the other hand, pre-sales should pay attention to control the quantity, because excessive discount in exchange for pre-sales will make the brand overload. So based on New Century Hotel's experience, the pre-sale product can be designed according to the previous occupation rate. For example, the average occupation rate of the hotel last year was 70%, and 10% to 20% of the room can be used for pre-sale to avoid excessive overdraft. And the second way is contactless service. In order to ensure the safety of employees and guests, some hotels in China have launched intelligent contactless service. The first picture is a machine for people to self-check in and check out. Once they put the room card into the card slot of the machine and the checkout is complete, It's quite simple. And the second picture is the robot for delivery. The robot will deliver goods, takeaways, and delivery of items needed by customers. We can see that in the second picture, the staff put the items in the robot's hatch, and the robot will deliver it to the guest according to the instruction. And in the third picture, the guest can scan the QR code on the screen above the robot to trigger the hatch switch. And after the items are taken out, they can close the door by scanning the QR code again. Therefore, the self-service machine and the robot really help to achieve contactless service. Besides, the hotel will carry out the overall cleaning and disinfection of the delivery robot once every hour to ensure that is safety for use. Actually, if the hotel wants to invest in artificial intelligence and equipment like the robot, in addition to mature technology, it also needs to consider the budget. Now comes to the crowd travel part. At 8 p.m. on March 23rd, C-Trip's official doing account the C-Trip Travel walked into a special person. He was the chairman of C-Trip's board of directors, Liang Jianzhang. He started the first live streaming of his life at the Atlantic Hotel. It's in Sanya, the capital city of Hainan province in China. According to the data provided by 36氪, it shows that Sanya is the most desired destination for tourists after the pandemic. The live streaming this time is to promote the underwater hotel room known as the most expensive hotel room in Sanya. The daily price of the room type is 110,000 RMB per night, and the room area reaches 340 square meters. Through the floor to ceiling windows, you can see 86,000 marine creatures roaming in the water. So sounds very attractive, right? An audience who have not traveled for several months due to the pandemic begin to press the reservation button under the double impact of Liang Jianzhang personally recommend some goods and pre-sale discount prices. So according to 36氪's data, until the end of the 1-hour live broadcast, Liang Jianzhang sold a total of 10 million RMB travel products. But apart from selling travel products, Liang Jianzhang also invited different Douyin live streamers to participate and let them raise some questions, and so as to generate interaction during live streaming. This type of cooperation also attracts traffic from other live streamers. This helps to drive the sales of the travel products. The middle part in this slide are two pictures about Douyin's crowd travel campaigns on 5th April recently. The picture above is Douyin opened the first live broadcast of Forbidden City in 2020, leading the audience to walk the Forbidden City and learn about the culture. And the picture below is another content in this crowd campaign that Douyin invited Huang Hongxiang, an African wildlife conservation worker, as the live host. So audience followed the live streaming of Douyin and got to know the African wildlife. This kind of live broadcast content actually stimulate people's interest for travel in the future. The last picture in this slide is about online travel agency Yilong, which also aimed at the cloud tourism market and launched the City Alliance campaign through its app. All participating tourist destinations will receive free travel promotion service. The display format would be a VR and high-definition video that's suitable for users to browse online. It aims to help tourist destinations fully display their own tourism image and resource advantage through these VR and video materials. And we can see that actually the last picture is Ningxia. It's a region in north-central China and also is one of the first destinations to join the Alliance campaigns. Audience can quickly obtain graphic and audio introduction materials about Ningxia through the links of the pictures. And among them, classic and cultural materials of 360-degree VR audio and video material can create a browsing experience, just like the audience are really in Ningxia. Through online video and VR technology, consumers can enjoy a rich and colorful life at home. On the one hand, it can provide rich cultural and travel content for people who have lived in the home for a long time during the pandemic. And on the other hand, it can also help tourist destinations prepare for the development of tourism in the future. So let's move to the next, is the tourism plus strategy. We will talk about the example of tourism plus e-commerce here. That's the cooperation between Median and Tongcheng Tourism. Median is an e-commerce platform for merchants that combines community function. It can not only access the distribution products of the internet giants such as Taobao, but also to sell some self-operated products. And Tongcheng Tourism is a one-stop travel booking website. The cooperation between these two companies has made the social e-commerce business an important breakthrough in the tourism industry. As an e-commerce platform, Median turns every travel consultant into a sales expert. Median can provide an independent store and distribution system to reach the closed loop of all shopkeepers and ultimately achieve conversion of private traffic. The sales platform is the official WeChat official account of Median. For business, it only needs to send advertisement in the WeChat moment to attract customers' attention, complete negotiation, and guide them to place order. For the delivery and after-sales part, Median will help company to follow up. People in the tourism industry in Median began to sell the agricultural product of souvenir in tourist attraction, and some people sell living supplies and food supply needed during the pandemic. This way successfully helped the people in the travel industry to achieve breakthrough. Their sales achievements in Median listed as the second picture. Therefore, we can see that the e-commerce would be a kind of wonderful perspective for tourism industry. Then finally, we can here comes to the part action to take now and in the future. Number one is time to change. Time to revise your plan for China and set realistic expectation. Number two is for the promotion part. Start to create compelling offers and promotion for a region to target specific audience in China. And the number three is embrace digitalization. Is to start using digital tools to promote and keep people excited for late 2020 and 2021. Celebrity and KOL live streaming promotion of Douyin are a highly effective format. And number four is launch your own merchandise and souvenirs and start selling them on Tmall Global or through WeChat mini programs, like we just say in the last case. And the number five is use videos, articles, and diverse content to introduce your region. Tell people your story so they can learn about your location and get excited about the future travel. By saying that, we would like to say the number five is to create a pre-sale expectation and interest audience that our product in our location are attractive. Number six is the final one, stay active on social media, initiate interaction and introduce discussion topics or activity to maintain a strong connection with the audience. And actually the final point is about creating a mental connection with the audience, keeping the audience see your activity to be more familiar with you instead of forgetting you. So that's all for this part. Let's move to Q&A session.
Yeah, guys, so we are now finished with our main part, and now we are open our chat for the questions. And before we move to the questions, yeah, just let us stop sharing the screen. So no worries, we will share with you the presentation after this webinar. And now, basically, while you are chatting, like sending us your questions, we have received more than 150 questions from you. And basically, as Wendy told us that we can see that the trends of recovery in China, there's all these Anhui province, and we also received the questions from all of you, basically when the market will recover, and then tourism, outbound tourism to Europe will rebound, and if it will rebound at all. And I think that Wendy, you can just like tell us more about it.
Oh yeah, so about the outbound tourism in Europe. So actually, I have to say the rebound will appear, but just like I mentioned before, when it will be and how big the scale it is, we are not sure about it. But yes, but because is the overseas epidemic is still growing, but China is getting better to some extent, and so according to China's experience, we predict that in July China will get a rebound in the tourism industry. Yes, but the best thing is everybody wants to go outside, and but there is another thing is that there is a time gap between the China epidemic and the overseas epidemic. It's like when the overseas epidemic is getting recovered, Chinese people may already get recovered from their income pressures, their loan pressure, this kind of things. So after this, after the overseas epidemic is recovering, I think this may be a good chance for Chinese people to turn to get more money to go to the Western countries to do the travel. Yes, so I think it's also the good thing. And also maybe they will turn to some high-end consumption of the customized trip, and also the self-guided trip instead of the group tour, because people also want to do the group tour for the overseas travel for Chinese people. Yes.
That's actually interesting. I think that we also have the same question from Mabel about the South Africa. So because of the gap, there basically will be a delay of the recovery, but we can see as example in China that it's like recovering, and we will also be seeing it soon in other parts of the world. And you also mentioned that basically more people will travel like in more customized way. So like in more private groups with more like customized program. That's why we actually received a question from Tony, and I think that Sylvie can tell us more about how basically the travel behavior changed after the COVID-19, and what some other trends we can see except the group, like the customized plans instead of the group ones.
Yes, the behavior will definitely change because of the COVID-19, and maybe it mainly display in three aspects. The first is the personal safety and the sanitary condition are the most concerning parts. And therefore, the tourism industry, the hotels must to show the efforts you have done for this part to ensure the guests the safety, to let them feel safe to travel here. And you are already done for the sanitary, the cleaning part. And the second one is the consumption will become more rational, because in the past people go to travel, may shopping crazily and just buy what thing they want. But after the COVID-19, they will become more rational. They prefer something that really practical. So maybe when you're considering design your souvenir, your travel related products, it could be something like that very practical one. And the third is they in the past, the lively attraction that will tend to attract a lot of people. Maybe they can just go there for take some beautiful picture. And after the COVID-19, there may be just some place that have spa and really can help them to relax, will tend to attract more people. So that's some behavior changes about the question.
Yeah, basically you also mentioned that people will now pay more attention for the safety, and basically we have the question here from Bernadette, like, do you think that visitors will travel to Europe once it becomes safe? Do you think that it's happening?
Yes, I think it depends. Actually, Europe for most of the Chinese people is a beautiful place and always have some attraction for us. And maybe after all the things getting better, Chinese people still want to go there, but maybe so soon. It takes some time for people to recover in psychological aspects.
Mm-hmm.
So for tourism industry in Europe, like I just say, you can show your efforts, let the people know that, oh, okay, that is now recover. Your safety, we can ensure it, we can guarantee it, and all the cleaning conditions are quite good here to build their confidence, to
build the trust.
yes, build the trust.
Yeah, I see. Basically, because like the safety, we can see that it will be one of the expectations for Chinese travelers when they go outside. Wendy, maybe you can tell us more, because we have a question also from Rebecca about like what you think will be Chinese travelers' expectations after the COVID-19 and how it's basically different, and how basically tourism companies can adjust to these new expectations.
Oh yes, for the best. Oh yes, sorry, Ken.
Yeah, so basically it's about, I just raised too many questions at the same time. So basically, because the safety was about the expectations. So can you please tell us how changed the expectations of Chinese travelers in terms of the traveling?
Yes, yes. In this case, we have already mentioned before that the safety, the health is the most important thing, and and also you have to make people, this kind of proof is that you have to make people do not worry about anything to adjust their travel plan. Is just like the refund, and because this time some conflicts must appear. During the Chinese New Year to the end of the February, I think there was a data that all the travel platforms in China has to adjust it, has to fix with more than 100 million orders that they want to refund, they want to change their travel plan, and also they got many kinds of criticism. I think the criticism amount was increased by 300%. So this is a really big thing for them, but we need to know that the conflict must appear, and what we need to do is to make the consumers do not worry about to change their plans, and they need to know later we still can use this kind of plans in this kind of travel platforms.
Yes. Guys, you sent us so many questions and we try our best to answer it. And I'm sorry if I'm pronouncing the name wrongly. So basically we have a question here from Jimen about, like, in addition to Douyin, which social medias are Chinese tourists paying attention for choosing their next destination? And basically we also have the same kind of question from Maya. What can we do to stay in contact with consumers using online tools, and what's actually this online tools? So Sylvie, maybe you can tell us more about the online tools, because you were talking about it.
Okay, the question in chat room has already, apart from Douyin, but actually I still wanted to say something. Douyin is quite good now for travel tourism industry, because during Spring Festival, people locked down at home. They could only rely this app to kill their time. They watch this short video to get news, to get relaxation. And even now, things getting better, and they still have this habit. So we already have some client base in this aspect. And the second is, you also have some promotion during Spring Festival, like the cloud dancing, online dancing, to attract more users. So you can, and it also maintain a quite high monthly active user. So monthly active user and client base are already enable Douyin to be a strong apps in this time. And also, most importantly, Douyin also launches a series of travel related, like I just say in the during the webinar, it launched the cloud travel. So it's quite matched with the industry. Okay. Then apart from Douyin, there is also a Taobao live streaming that you should pay attention, because after you do the live streaming on Taobao, you also can have a Tmall store to directly drive the traffic attracted during live streaming to your store to achieve a complete sales loop. So it's also an app that the tourist industry should pay attention to. This.
Yeah, basically we also have a question here about, because we start talking about the tools and also live streaming. It's actually should be a part of your strategy. Then you just like rethinking how you can just capture these tourists back. And we also have here the question from Julia, as I can see that, like, does it make sense to start promotion now for tourism direct in Europe, or it's too early? And we also have this kind of question from Yelena about like a right time to restart online promotion. So Wendy, can you please tell us more about when actually the right time? Is it too early, too late, or just now right the time?
Yeah, actually, the promotion problem has been a really big problem since the epidemic has started. Yes, many brands are wondering that we can do the promotion right now or we cannot. Seems like if whether we can have no result in this kind of period or we can get much criticism. But actually, I have to say, you not worry about this kind of things. You just do it right now. But yes, firstly, I want to give a Chinese example. I think the epidemic was started in China just several days before the Chinese New Year. It's like the end of the January. Yes. So, but at the beginning of the February, I know there are still some giant chain offline shopping malls in China have started to the live streaming. They invited thousands of their own staff and cooperated with Taobao live streaming to do this kind of selling products and achieved the contactless shopping. So, and they also cooperated with Shunfeng in Beijing to offer the contactless delivery. So my opinion is you can do it as soon as possible. As soon as possible, it is the best. But your promotion needs some limitation actually. Like we have already mentioned in last webinar before, you have to focus on the society responsibility, the element, and you do not you can sell products, but the focus should be the improve the people's life quality instead of just selling products. And if you want to release a new product, it's okay, but it kind of should be related to this kind of situation. So this kind of promotion is good, is allowed. Yes.
So basically, guys, now it's the time to just rethink about your strategy and just make a long-term planning what you actually want to do. And because we start talking about social responsibility, and we also like back receive like again like people still asking about the trust, and we also have here a question from Joseph, like, and also from Damien, about like how basically we believe we can build that trust outside of China, and yeah, basically about the virus safety. And we also received this question previously from Michaela, and I think Sylvie can tell us more about like how basically brands can keep this trust alive, and how basically it should be aligned with the brand identity during this time.
Yes, and actually during this time, you must ensure your company have a communication bridge between your customer. In China, that a kind of effective tools to communicate with consumer would be the Weibo, WeChat, and so special people can be arranged to communicate with consumer during this special period. And the second is try to carry out an online survey, because this kind of thing would let consumer feel surprised and feel warmed, because at this time you still want to listen to what they really need. You also have to build a favorable brand image. And the last one is don't conduct continuous culture education for your consumers. Try to instill some value. Let them remind that the travels is the significance of travel, to let them know, okay, after traveling, you can not only get relaxation, you can still feel some energy for your life to continue your following life and following work. So try to bring some values for the customers. Yes.
Yeah, basically, as we start talking about the values to the customers, and also it's like continuously about the strategy, and we also said that like it's never be cheaper to reach to Chinese consumers than now, because I mean like many brands are hesitated, and that's why there is lots of opportunities for basically cheaper promotion than it was previously. That's why I think that it's also a good time to basically answer the question about what kind of offerings hospitality companies should and will reinvent after the COVID. Yeah, so Wendy, can you please tell us more about these offering opportunities?
Yes, about the hospitality. Yes, yes, of course. I think maybe some museums and some sightseeing can do the live streaming, but hotel is the very disaster one to some extent. And according to the data, until the beginning of March, I remember that in China, in Italy, and also in Korea, this kind of countries, the check-in rate for the hotels have been decreased by at least 70%. So what we should do firstly is improve the service and improve the environment cleanliness. This is most necessary one. And secondly, we have to do is what we have mentioned before is the contactless, and we also use this kind of service into the hotel. For example, in China, a very giant hotel group called Huazhu Group, they asked their more than 5,700 hotels to do the smart hotel and use the contactless service. And people can use their own mobile phones and also the self-help machine in the hotel to do the check-in, check-out. And also if you need some delivery, you need to borrow something, you need a pillow, you need a quilt, you can contact with the robots. The robot will deliver whatever you need instead of their own stuff. And also with the 5G technologies really increasingly mature. So this kind of technology can cooperate with VR technology and also the robot. This kind of things can add more dynamic to the contactless service, I think.
Yeah, basically about the offerings, we also get your questions, guys, about like, can we share the contact who basically like built these robots? Yeah, so I think that we are not the tech company, but you can address us with your questions and we will see what we can do for you in terms of like refers. And I think that we are almost finished and we have just 1 minute, but I just feel that like it's the time for one small question, because we were talking about the hospitality quite a lot, but I'm sure that there is one part of the tourism industry which actually needs to understand how to deal better with it. And basically Farid asked us this question, because for hotels it's obvious, like may work on the offerings, work on the contactless deliveries and digitalization, but what basically airline companies can do and how they can recover it. And it will be our last question for today. And Wendy, can you please tell us how the airline sector was affected and what they can do?
Yes, for the airline companies, because just at the beginning of this year, like in February, the International Transport Association said that this year's loss in flight industry will be at least 29 billion US dollars. But this month they announced again that the amount will be at least 113 billion US dollars. So this is a big change. And also for example, the British Airways, they have stopped almost their airlines, and the company announced that there will be 36,000 employees stop their work to no pay leave, and but they will get the 80% of their salary from the government instead of the owners. And also many flight companies have become state-owned enterprises, like the the Italian flight has cooperated with the Italian government, and maybe the government can, yes, the government later announced that they will try to buy this kind of, and also to give money to this kind of companies. Yes, just as I mentioned in this, for the flight companies, except what we can, except they can do in what we mentioned in the webinar, but also like the policy support, I think is very important, but maybe it's not really easy to operate in this kind of situation.
But it's the right time for some offerings, and also do live streaming and about the company.
Yeah, and also a little prediction, not by me, but by some flight industry expert, is that this kind of situation can continue to 2020. So maybe do as much preparation as you can. Yes.
Yeah, basically that's all for our today's session. I hope that you find it useful. So thank you again, Wendy and Sylvie, for sharing with us the insights. So just let me quickly summarize what we talk about. So we all see that, like Wendy told us about the changes which actually happening in the tourism, but it's actually like rebound, and we can see how people pay more attention about the digitalization, how people pay more attention to safety, and how they can basically pay more attention of the social responsibility and empathy of the company. And then basically Sylvie told us about the strategies, the press strategies, which you need to pay attention right now, because market will rebound and people will definitely travel. And as we can see that it will be more customized, people will, because like, you can now feel it by yourself. We are just like sitting and locked down, and we want to see more like and receive more emotion. That's why it's actually the good time to share this emotion and basically sell this, not just the trips, but also the experience. And as we also mentioned, that now it's the right time to start your preparation, because the strategy takes usually time to around 2 to 3 months to be prepared. That's basically this gap between the virus outbreak in China and the rest of the world. And basically once the borders will be open and once people will travel, it's your time to capture it. And now it's a good time to basically make a promotion in China, because it's cheaper than ever it is. So I hope that you enjoyed this session. Thank you so much for being with us. And if you want to have questions and you still want to know more from Wendy and Sylvie, we're also happy to arrange some consultation or expert calls. Or if you want to speak about your strategies and offerings, which you can do right now, we also be able to help you. And thank you once again.